The Federation Council chambers sparkled like a jewel carved from space itself. Crystalline walls stretched hundreds of meters high, their translucent surfaces displaying the swirling nebula beyond. 3,000 representatives from across known space sat in rising tiers, their varied forms illuminated by the soft glow of personal data terminals. High Counselor Zaxtel of the Arxian Dominion stood at the central podium, his scaled skin reflecting prismatic patterns as he gestured at the massive holographic display. As you can see, esteemed colleagues, our expansion into the Orion Spur has been nothing short of exemplary. 7 new worlds, each rich with resources, have been peacefully brought into our protective embrace. The chamber hummed with approving murmurs. The Arxians had always been skilled colonizers, their touch gentle enough to avoid censure while firm enough to ensure compliance. Their latest presentation showed sweeping vistas of new mining operations, carefully planned settlements, and the beginning stages of orbital development. Furthermore, Zaxtel continued, his voice carrying the smooth confidence of someone used to universal approval, we have maintained our observation protocols of pre-spacefaring species in the region. The primitive world designated Terra continues its slow development, entirely unaware of our careful stewardship of their sector. A sharp sound cut through the chamber's atmosphere, a single human laugh. Heads turned, appendages swiveled, and sensory organs focused on the source. Ambassador Rebecca Morrison stood from her seat in the lower tier, her dark blue diplomatic uniform a stark contrast against the chamber's crystalline backdrop. She moved with deliberate grace, each step down to the chamber floor echoing with purpose. Point of order, Council President. Morrison's voice carried clearly, touched with something that made even the most seasoned diplomats straighten in their seats. The Arxian Dominion's report contains several concerning inaccuracies that must be addressed immediately. Zaxtel's scales flickered with annoyance. The human representative is out of order. Our report has been thoroughly vetted by. By whom? Morrison interrupted, reaching the chamber floor. Your own colonial authority. The same authority that apparently failed to notice they were conducting operations in sovereign territory. A ripple of confusion passed through the assembly. The council president, a tall, ethereal sylphid, leaned forward. Ambassador Morrison, these are serious accusations. Please clarify your statement. Morrison withdrew a small device from her uniform pocket. With the council's permission, I would like to present evidence that the Arxian Dominion has violated Section 47 of the Federation Charter, unauthorized incursion into the territory of a spacefaring species. Spacefaring species. Zaxtel's scales now flickered with amusement. Ambassador, if you're referring to Terra, we have documented their development for centuries. They've barely achieved primitive chemical rocketry. Morrison's smile never wavered as she activated her device. The chamber's main holographic display shifted, showing a close-up of an Arxian mining operation. This facility was established 3 months ago on what you designated as asteroid KX-397. Would you confirm that, High Counselor? Of course, Zaxtel replied. It's a rich source of rare earth elements, well outside any claimed territories. I see, Morrison nodded. Her fingers danced over the device, and the image pulled back. The asteroid's position was highlighted, then connected by lines to other points of reference. Stellar cartography data flickered across the display, and gasps began to echo through the chamber as the full picture emerged. By your own navigational data, High Counselor, Morrison's voice took on an edge of steel. This asteroid lies 37 light minutes from Terra, well within standard sovereign space boundaries for any recognized species. She paused, letting the implications sink in. You have been operating an unauthorized mining facility in Earth's sovereign territory. Laughter erupted from several delegations. A Vuxton representative called out, Earth isn't a recognized spacefaring power. They don't have sovereign territory rights. Morrison's smile grew sharper. I'm afraid that's another inaccuracy that needs correction. She pressed one final control on her device. If the Council would direct their attention to Terra itself, you'll notice some changes occurring. Now, the holographic display shifted to Earth, and for a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a mirage dissolving in reverse, humanity's carefully maintained illusion began to fade away. The chamber fell into stunned silence. 6 months earlier, Mount Cheyenne Complex, North American Defense Zone. They're getting closer. General Maria Santos traced her finger along the holographic display, where a red dot pulsed uncomfortably close to the underwater perimeter of New Atlanta. 3 more survey passes like this, and they'll detect the thermal signature from the geothermal taps. The Strategic Defense Council chamber hummed with nervous energy. 20 of Earth's highest-ranking military and scientific leaders sat around the circular table, its surface alive with real-time data streams from across the solar system. The chamber itself, carved deep within Mount Cheyenne, represented humanity's true technological achievement. Quantum computing cores nested in the walls processed data from countless cloaked satellites, maintaining humanity's greatest deception. Dr. James Okonjo, Earth's chief of planetary camouflage technology, manipulated a series of controls on his console. The holographic display zoomed in, showing the Arxian survey vessel in crisp detail. Their scanning technology has improved since their last major survey. The crystalline matrix we use to diffuse the thermal signature won't fool them much longer. Then we upgrade the shielding, Colonel Sarah Martinez suggested, her cybernetic eyes glowing faintly as she accessed additional data streams. We've done it before. It's not that simple anymore. Dr. Okonjo shook his head, bringing up a new display showing energy distribution patterns across Earth's hidden infrastructure. We're running at 97% capacity on the planetary cloaking network, the undersea arcologies, the orbital rings, the lunar fabrication facilities. Hiding it all takes exponentially more energy as their detection technology improves. A junior technician burst into the chamber, face flushed with urgency. General Santos, the Arxian vessel just altered course. They're dropping to a lower altitude, directly over Settlement Zone 7. The room erupted in controlled chaos. Settlement Zone 7 housed one of Earth's largest antimatter production facilities, disguised as a defunct solar farm. The facility's signature was masked by dozens of overlapping holographic and quantum fields, but a closed pass might reveal anomalies. Deploy the Weather Defense Network, General Santos commanded. Create a storm system. Force them to maintain altitude. Weather control is already active in that sector, another officer reported. If we generate another storm, it'll look suspicious. They've been documenting Earth's weather patterns for centuries. Dr. Okonjo's fingers flew across his console, initiating Emergency Protocol Omega, shifting power from the Australian shield array to boost local camouflage effectiveness. The room held its breath as they watched the Arxian ship descend. On another display, power readings from the shield array began to drop, leaving millions temporarily vulnerable to solar radiation. It was a calculated risk. Better a few hours of increased exposure than revealing humanity's true capabilities. The Arxian vessel passed within 2 kilometers of the facility. 1 kilometer, 500 meters. Energy spike. A technician called out. They're doing a deep scan. Dr. Okonjo's hands became a blur of motion, redirecting background radiation, adjusting quantum field harmonics, deploying chaff protocols. The Arxian ship hung in the air for what felt like an eternity. Then, slowly, it began to rise. They're resuming their original course, the junior technician reported, relief evident in his voice. No indication they detected anything unusual. The tension in the room deflated slightly, but General Santos' expression remained grave. That was too close. We've maintained this deception for 3 centuries, but we're reaching a breaking point. Sooner or later, they're going to spot something we can't hide. The Undersea Arcology Network houses 50 million people, Dr. Okonjo reminded everyone. New Atlanta alone has 12 million residents. We can't just reveal ourselves without a plan. Colonel Martinez stood, her cybernetic eyes flickering as she processed scenarios. Maybe it's time we make a plan. We've hidden long enough to build our strength, develop our technology, and study their weaknesses. The Federation isn't as united or as powerful as they pretend to be. General Santos walked to the chamber's main window, looking out at the vast underground cavern beyond. Massive fusion reactors powered the heart of Earth's defense network, their blue glow illuminating advanced ships and weapons platforms that no alien species knew existed. Contact Ambassador Morrison, she decided. Tell her to begin preparing the diplomatic groundwork. If we're going to reveal ourselves, we're going to do it on our terms. The council chamber erupted in renewed discussion, strategies and contingencies flowing freely. 3 centuries of patience and preparation were about to pay off, and humanity would finally show the galaxy its true face. The Federation Council chamber had never been so silent. Ambassador Rebecca Morrison stood at the central podium, her finger hovering over her control device as the first layers of Earth's planetary camouflage began to dissolve. "I recommend," she said softly, her voice carrying through the stunned silence, "that all representatives activate their neural filters. The full spectrum of our technological signature might be overwhelming to unshielded senses." High Counselor Zaxtel's scales had lost their lustrous sheen. "This is impossible. Our surveys were exactly what we wanted you to see." Morrison pressed another control. Beginning Phase 2 deactivation of planetary camouflage systems. The massive holographic display showed Earth's orbital space transforming. Like paint peeling away from a canvas, the carefully maintained illusion of emptiness dissolved. First came the orbital rings, massive structures that circled the planet at precise intervals. Their surfaces gleamed with energy collection panels and atmospheric processors that had been maintaining Earth's primitive atmosphere conditions. Gasps echoed through the chamber as the next layer revealed itself. A vast network of satellites emerged, not the crude communication devices the Federation had observed, but advanced quantum-linked platforms that formed a planetary defense grid more sophisticated than anything in known space. "That's not possible," a Vuxton scientist sputtered, their tentacles writhing in agitation. "The power requirements alone will be met by our Dyson swarm." Morrison interrupted, revealing another layer. The holographic display zoomed out to show a glittering cloud of solar collectors extending out toward Venus's orbit. "We completed it roughly 200 years ago, though I believe your surveys dismissed the energy signature as a natural solar phenomenon." The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions, demands, and accusations. Several species diplomatic AIs were struggling to process the rapid recalculation of power dynamics this revelation represented. Zaxtel slammed his scaled hand on his podium. "These are fabrications, clever holographic tricks." Morrison's smile never wavered. "Council President, I request permission to establish a direct quantum link with Earth's Defense Command. Let's remove all doubt about our capabilities." Before the President could respond, a new hologram materialized in the chamber center. General Maria Santos stood in full military dress, the advanced technology woven into her uniform, now fully visible without the camouflage protocols. "Greetings, Federation Council." Santos's voice resonated with authority. "I am transmitting this message in real time through our quantum network. To verify this isn't a recording, I believe Ambassador Morrison just revealed our Dyson swarm. An impressive achievement, though not our most advanced." The Council President leaned forward, their ethereal form shimmering with interest. "What would you consider your most advanced achievement, General?" "Perhaps a demonstration is in order." Santos nodded to someone off-screen. "Ambassador Morrison, please direct the Council's attention to the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter." Morrison adjusted the display. The assembled representatives watched as a section of seemingly empty space rippled, then transformed. A massive structure appeared, a shipyard complex extending for thousands of kilometers, its docks filled with vessels of clearly human design, but utterly alien architecture. "This facility," Morrison explained, "has been operating for 150 years. Its quantum camouflage field was specifically designed to be undetectable to Federation scanning technology. We've built an entire civilization in your blind spots, learning from your achievements and your mistakes. Why? The question came from Ambassador Cletra, the Federation's leading anthropologist on primitive species. Why maintain such an elaborate deception? Morrison's expression softened slightly. Because we watched. We learned how the Federation treated advanced species they encountered. The subtle economic pressures, the military posturing, the forced treaties. We decided to wait, to build our strength while appearing harmless. And now, she gestured to the display showing Earth's true face. We'd reveal ourselves not as supplicants to be pressured, but as equals to be respected. The chamber fell silent again as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just hidden their technology. They had orchestrated the greatest deception in Federation history, building an advanced civilization right under the noses of those who thought themselves superior. And they had only begun to reveal their secrets. The Federation Council's emergency session stretched into its 4th hour. The Grand Chamber, usually a model of diplomatic order, had devolved into clusters of frantic discussion and hurried consultations. Holographic displays flickered as species after species demanded verification of their own surveillance data of Earth. Ambassador Cletra, the Federation's foremost expert on primitive species, stood at a secondary podium, her prestigious career crumbling before her eyes. 3 centuries of behavioral analysis, technological progression models, sociological predictions, all carefully crafted fiction. Her upper appendages trembled as she manipulated her data screens. My entire department's work was exactly what we wanted you to see, Ambassador Morrison replied, her voice carrying a hint of sympathy. Your research wasn't wrong, Ambassador Cletra. You perfectly documented the civilization we chose to show you. The Volan delegation, renowned for their predictive modeling of species development, huddled around their shared console. Their reputation for accurate forecasting had earned them tremendous influence in Federation politics. Now, their lead researcher's skin had turned a sickly shade of green. Impossible, he muttered, running simulation after simulation. Our models have never failed. Never. The probability of a species maintaining such a deception is exactly 0, according to your calculations, Morrison interrupted, which is precisely why it worked. You were so certain of your models that you never questioned the basic assumptions they were built upon. High Counselor Zach Stahl had recovered some of his composure, his scales now showing patterns of calculated diplomacy rather than shock. The Arxian Dominion demands access to Earth's orbital space for independent verification of these claims. We cannot simply accept. You're not in a position to demand anything, Counselor. Morrison's tone could have frozen plasma. She activated a new holographic sequence, showing dozens of near collisions between Arxian survey ships and cloaked human installations. Your vessels have nearly triggered several catastrophic incidents. This one, she highlighted a particular incident, came within 20 meters of an antimatter containment facility. One slight course deviation, and you would have vaporized your own ship and taken half of Earth's Pacific defense grid with it. The chamber erupted in fresh chaos at the mention of antimatter containment. Such technology was theoretical for most Federation species, its practical implementation considered centuries away. Members of the Council, the Sylphid President's ethereal voice cut through the noise. We must address the immediate diplomatic implications. The human claim to sovereign space has been validated by their technological demonstration. The Arxian mining operations are, technically, in violation of Federation law. We propose a simple solution. Morrison's voice remained steady. The Arxian Dominion will withdraw their operations from Earth's sovereign space within 7 standard days. In return, we will not seek compensation for the resources already extracted. Zaxtel's scales flickered with relief at the moderate proposal, but Morrison wasn't finished. However, she continued, we require full disclosure of all surveillance activities conducted against Earth by every Federation member species, not just official missions. everything. The unauthorized probes, the clandestine observation posts, the attempted infiltrations. We documented them all, and now we want them acknowledged. The chamber fell silent. Every species present had, at some point, attempted to study Earth without Federation authorization. The humans had apparently detected and tracked every single attempt. A junior diplomat from the Marith Collective, known for their direct approach, raised an appendage. Why not reveal this earlier? Why wait until an actual violation of your space? Morrison smiled. Because now we reveal ourselves from a position of strength, not desperation. We've had centuries to observe how the Federation treats newly discovered advanced species. The subtle economic pressures, the military posturing, the forced treaties presented as mutual cooperation agreements. She glanced meaningfully at several delegations who had the grace to look uncomfortable. Instead, she continued, we chose our moment. We built our strength. We learned from your achievements and your mistakes. And now we stand before you not as another conquest to be managed, but as equals who have already proven we can outmaneuver your best efforts at surveillance and control. The implications hung in the air like a charged particle storm. Humanity hadn't just hidden their technology. They had orchestrated a centuries-long strategic deception that made the Federation's most sophisticated intelligence operations look like children playing at espionage. The Federation Council's private conference chamber felt considerably smaller than the main hall, its crystalline walls drawn closer to accommodate the select group of representatives. Ambassador Morrison sat at one end of the oval table, flanked by Dr. James Okonjo and General Santos, whose physical presence had caused quite a stir upon arrival via quantum teleporter. Let me understand this correctly. The Sylphid president leaned forward, their luminescent form rippling with curiosity. You detected our first survey vessels over 3 centuries ago. 312 years ago, to be precise. Dr. Okonjo activated a holographic display showing ancient sensor logs. Your ships weren't as subtle as you believed. We detected their quantum wake signatures while testing our first deep space sensors. High Counselor Zaxtel's scales showed patterns of disbelief. Yet you chose to appear primitive, to hide your capabilities. The Federation would have welcomed an advanced species. Would you? General Santos interrupted, placing a data crystal on the table. Project Looking Glass, a comprehensive analysis of how the Federation handles first contact with advanced civilizations. The crystal projected a series of images, worlds and species most of the representatives recognized. The Nexus Collective, the Helion Assembly, the Quantum Conclave, all advanced civilizations discovered by the Federation within the past millennium. The pattern was clear, Morrison explained. Each species was initially welcomed warmly. Then came the trade agreements, heavily favoring Federation interests. Military treaties requiring them to scale back their defense capabilities. Technology sharing agreements that somehow always left them dependent on Federation resources. Those were mutual cooperation pacts, protested the Vuxton ambassador, designed to integrate new species smoothly into subservience, Morrison finished. Within 2 centuries, each of these civilizations had effectively lost their autonomy. Their military forces integrated into Federation fleets, their economies tied to Federation markets, their technological development carefully monitored and controlled. Dr. Okonjo highlighted specific data points. The Nexus Collective's quantum drive research, mysteriously abandoned after Federation safety concerns. The Helion Assembly's defense grid, dismantled for standardization purposes. The Quantum Conclave's artificial intelligence program, shut down due to ethical considerations. So we watched, and we learned, General Santos continued. Each time the Federation discovered a new advanced species, we documented their methods, analyzed their strategies, and improved our deception accordingly. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just been hiding. They had been studying the Federation's political and diplomatic playbook for centuries. But surely you must have considered the benefits of Federation membership, the Sylphid president suggested. The shared knowledge, the cultural exchange. Morrison smiled. We had all of that already. Computer, display Operation Shadow Bridge. New holograms filled the room, showing hundreds of covert human operations across Federation space. Cloaked research stations hidden in plain sight, quantum-masked observers in major Federation cities, and most shockingly, evidence of subtle human intervention in Federation affairs. The Hylian Assembly's mysterious breakthrough in atmospheric restoration. Morrison pointed to an image. Human technology, anonymously provided through third parties. The Quantum Conclave's successful resistance to having their AI research completely shut down. They had helped drafting their appeals. You've been manipulating Federation politics. Zaxtal's scales turned pale. We've been helping other species maintain their independence, Morrison corrected. Quietly, subtly, in ways that couldn't be traced back to Earth. We learned from watching you, after all. General Santos stood, her uniform's quantum-enhanced fabric shimming slightly. Humanity chose to appear weak because we saw how the Federation treated the strong. We decided to be the hidden hand, helping others resist complete absorption while building our own strength. And now, Morrison finished, we reveal ourselves, not as another powerful species to be contained and controlled, but as one that has already shaped Federation policy without you knowing it. We're not here to join your hierarchy. We're here to help reshape it. The assembled representatives stared at the evidence of centuries of human manipulation, each realizing that the Federation's careful political balance had been quietly influenced all along by the supposedly primitive species they had dismissed as unworthy of serious attention. The main Federation Council chamber had been reconfigured for humanity's formal presentation. Ambassador Morrison stood at the central podium, while Dr. Okonjo managed a complex array of holographic controls nearby. The gathered representatives watched with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation, still processing the revelations of the past few hours. Before we present our terms, Morrison began, we'd like to offer a demonstration of exactly what humanity brings to the galactic community. She nodded to Dr. Okonjo. If you would, Doctor. The chamber's main display shifted to show a desolate moon orbiting a gas giant in the Proxima system. Its surface was scared and lifeless, radiation levels far too high for any known form of colonization. This is Proxima 4b, Morrison explained, uninhabitable by all Federation standards. High Counselor Zaxtal, I believe the Arxian Dominion attempted terraforming here 60 years ago. Zaxtal's scales flickered with remembered frustration. We spent 2 decades trying to make it viable. The radiation made it impossible to establish even basic atmospheric processors. Watch carefully, Morrison smiled. Dr. Okonjo activated a sequence of commands. Suddenly, dozens of previously invisible satellites decloaked in orbit around the moon. Quantum energy fields sprang to life, creating a protective web around the celestial body. From the surface, massive hidden installations emerged, their technology unlike anything the Federation had encountered. Beginning quantum-assisted terraforming, Dr. Okonjo announced. Time to habitability. 17 minutes. The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. Even the most advanced Federation terraforming projects took years, if not decades. The assembled representatives watched in awe as the moon transformed before their eyes. Radiation levels plummeted as quantum fields rewrote the fundamental physics of the area. Atmosphere generators activated, creating a breathable environment in minutes rather than centuries. Water vapor appeared, condensed, and formed lakes and seas as the surface was reshaped at the molecular level. Impossible, breathed the Vuxton science advisor. The energy requirements alone would be easily met by our quantum tap technology. Morrison interrupted. Which brings us to our first offer. Humanity is willing to share our environmental restoration technology with the Federation. All of it. The chamber fell silent. Such technology would revolutionize countless worlds, make previously uninhabitable planets viable for colonization, and solve resource crises across known space. And what do you want in return? Zach Stahl asked cautiously. Reform, Morrison replied simply. The Federation's current approach to emerging civilizations must change. No more economic coercion, no more forced technology sharing, no more subtle manipulation of developing worlds. She gestured and new holograms appeared, showing dozens of worlds currently under Federation observation. We've watched how you handle first contact. We've seen the damage your interventions cause. It ends now. You're not in a position to demand. A minor official began, but Morrison cut them off with a laugh. Aren't we? She nodded to Dr. Okonjo again. Show them the Helios network. New holograms blazed to life, revealing a vast web of quantum-linked satellites and stations throughout Federation space, all previously hidden by human cloaking technology. We could have shut down your faster-than-light communication network any time in the last century. We chose not to, just as we now choose to offer partnership rather than demand submission. The Council President leaned forward. You speak of reform, yet you admit to having secretly infiltrated our territory. We did, Morrison acknowledged, because we needed to understand you, to know if partnership was possible. And we believe it is, but only if the Federation is willing to change. She pressed a control, and the holographic display shifted to show Earth's true face, a world of impossible technological achievements and environmental harmony. We've solved problems you're still struggling with. Clean energy, sustainable development, faster than light travel without quantum wake signatures. We're offering to share it all. Dr. Okonjo stepped forward. Every Federation species has something unique to contribute. Imagine what we could achieve together, not as rulers and subjects, but as true equals. The chamber hummed with possibility as centuries of human planning reached its culmination. The Federation stood at a crossroads, and humanity had just offered them a path to a future they hadn't dared imagine. The diplomatic shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, carrying the first official Federation delegation to humanity's true civilization. Ambassador Cletra pressed her sensory appendages against the viewport, her scientific curiosity overwhelming protocol as the planetary defense grid shimmered and parted before them. By the eternal stars, whispered High Counselor Zaxtal, his scales shifting through patterns of wonder. The clouds parted to reveal a cityscape that defied Federation understanding. Crystal spires rose through the clouds, their surfaces alive with quantum energy patterns. Flying vehicles moved in perfect harmony, guided by an invisible dance of artificial intelligence. But what truly struck the delegation was the seamless blend of technology and nature. Massive trees grew alongside the buildings, their branches intertwining with sky bridges and atmospheric processors. Welcome to New Seattle, Ambassador Morrison announced as the shuttle approached a landing platform extending from a living building of crystal and bioengineered coral. One of our surface cities. Surface cities. The sylphid president's ethereal form rippled with curiosity. As opposed to our orbital habitats, undersea arcologies and subterranean complexes, Morrison explained casually, humanity hasn't been confined to the surface for quite some time. The delegation emerged onto the platform, their environmental suits proving unnecessary in Earth's perfectly maintained atmosphere. A group of children ran past, laughing as they played with what appeared to be. Is that a juvenile thunder lizard? Cletra's scientific training barely contained her excitement. The small dinosaur chirped happily as the children patted its scaled hide. We restored several extinct species, Dr. Okonjo explained, joining the group. Once we mastered quantum genetics, we decided to bring back some of Earth's lost wonders. The children particularly enjoy the smaller herbivorous varieties as pets. The tour continued through the city, each revelation more stunning than the last. They passed a public park where citizens practiced telekinetic exercises, their quantum-enhanced minds gently manipulating matter. A medical center demonstrated regeneration technology that could regrow lost limbs in hours. A transportation hub showed humans casually stepping through quantum gates to destinations across the planet. Your people, Zach Stahl observed, watching citizens go about their daily lives, they all have access to this technology. It's not restricted to an elite class. Of course not. Morrison seemed surprised by the question. What would be the point of advancement if it didn't benefit everyone? Our society is built on the principle of universal access to technology and education. They reached a massive structure that hummed with power. This, Dr. Okonjo announced proudly, is one of our public learning centers. Would you like to see how we educate our children? Inside, young humans sat in rooms where reality itself was malleable. They studied stellar physics by walking through miniature solar systems, learned biology by traveling through simulated cell structures, and practiced engineering by assembling and disassembling quantum machines with their minds. Impossible, breathed the Vuxton science advisor. The energy requirements for these educational systems alone would drain a typical city's power grid. Morrison smiled. Perhaps it's time to show them, James. Dr. Okonjo nodded and led the delegation to a viewing platform overlooking the city's central plaza. With a gesture, he deactivated a section of the planetary camouflage field. The air above the city shimmered, revealing a massive crystalline structure floating in the sky. A zero-point energy collector, he explained. Every major population center has one. They tap into the quantum fabric of space-time itself, providing unlimited clean energy for our civilization. The Federation representatives struggled to process the implications. Humanity hadn't just achieved technological supremacy. They'd created a society that surpassed the Federation's most optimistic projections of civilization development. But how did you manage all this in secret? Fleetra asked, her appendages twitching with scientific excitement. We had excellent motivation, Morrison replied, watching a group of citizens casually teleport across the plaza. The Federation's habit of controlling advanced civilizations taught us the value of patience. Every time you discovered a new species with significant technology, we watched them lose their independence. So we waited, developed in secret, and created something you couldn't control because we'd already surpassed your ability to understand it. A child's laughter echoed across the plaza as she rode past on her pet velociraptor, the restored creature perfectly gentle and dedicated to its young handler. The sight seemed to perfectly encapsulate humanity's achievement, the harmonious blend of past and future, of power and responsibility, of technological might and natural balance. 1 year later, Federation Council Chambers. The crystalline walls of the council chamber reflected the light from 1,000 worlds, but all eyes were fixed on the central podium, where Ambassador Rebecca Morrison stood. The chamber had been expanded, its architecture seamlessly blending Federation and human design principles. New seats filled the previously empty sections, accommodating representatives that no one had expected to see. Members of the Federation Council, Morrison began, her voice carrying easily through the vast space. 1 year ago, we revealed ourselves to you. Today, we reveal something even more significant. She paused, allowing the translation matrices to catch up. We weren't the only ones watching and waiting. At her signal, 30 new delegations entered the chamber. The Federation representatives leaned forward, their various sensory organs widening in shock as they recognized the distinctive features of species they had classified as primitive or pre-spaceflight. Impossible, High Counselor Zaxtol whispered, his scales flickering through patterns of disbelief. The Centauri Gatherers, the Sirius Collective, the Proxima Shapers. They're all advanced civilizations, Morrison confirmed, each choosing, like humanity, to hide their true capabilities while the Federation watched and waited. She gestured to the new arrivals, each developing their own unique path to the stars, freed from external pressure or control. Dr. James Okonjo stepped forward, activating a holographic display that showed the true face of dozens of worlds the Federation had dismissed as undeveloped. Hidden quantum cities, cloaked orbital habitats, and advanced technologies that rivaled or surpassed Federation capabilities in various specialties. The Centauri Gatherers mastered bioengineering centuries ago, Morrison explained. The Sirius Collective achieved consciousness transfer technology, While you thought they were discovering basic computers, the Proxima Shapers can restructure planetary environments in days. The Federation Council President's ethereal form pulsed with intense emotion. All this time, we thought we were guiding the development of young species. Instead, Morrison's voice carried a note of gentle correction. You were being watched by civilizations that chose freedom over recognition. Species that saw the Federation's pattern of control and decided to find another way. Zaxtel rose from his seat, his scales now showing patterns of diplomatic engagement. The Arxian Dominion formally moves to restructure Federation protocols regarding emerging civilizations. Seconded, called out Ambassador Cletra, her scientific appendages waving with excitement. Our assumptions about technological development have been proven fundamentally flawed. Morrison smiled. Earth and our allies propose a new approach. No more surveillance of developing worlds. No more economic coercion. Instead, we offer a true partnership of equals, where each civilization is free to develop according to its own values and principles. The chamber's holographic displays came alive, showing the incredible achievements of the previously hidden civilizations. The Centauri gatherers demonstrated living ships that grew and evolved. The Sirius Collective shared designs for quantum consciousness networks that defied Federation understanding. The Proxima Shapers revealed environmental restoration techniques that could heal damaged worlds in weeks rather than centuries. Together, Morrison continued, we represent not just advanced technology, but different paths to achieving it. Different values, different approaches, different solutions to the challenges of civilization. The Federation's greatest mistake was assuming there was only one correct path to the stars. A young Arxian diplomat raised her hand, scales showing patterns of curiosity. But why reveal yourselves now? Why not continue developing in secret? Morrison's expression softened. Because the galaxy faces challenges that require all of us working together. Climate collapse on 1,000 worlds. Quantum rifts threatening entire sectors. Species reaching for the stars who might repeat our mistakes. We chose this moment to emerge not to confront the Federation, but to help transform it into something greater. The chamber filled with murmurs of discussion as the implications became clear. The Federation hadn't been guiding younger species. It had been watched by an alliance of hidden civilizations, each developing unique solutions to the challenges of existence. The age of secrecy is over, Morrison declared. Now begins the age of true collaboration. Not as rulers and subjects, not as teachers and students, but as equals bringing our unique gifts to the challenge of building a better galaxy. The chamber erupted in applause, the sound of dozens of species celebrating not just the revelation of new allies, but the birth of a new approach to galactic civilization. The future had arrived, and it was more wonderful and diverse than anyone had imagined.